From ancient scrolls to modern classics, welcome to Whispers of Japanese Tales.
The Restaurant of Many Orders by Kenji Miyazawa. Two young gentlemen, fully decked out in the attire of British soldiers and carrying gleaming rifles, were strolling deep into the mountains, pulling along two dogs as large as polar bears. The dry, rustling leaves underfoot accompanied their conversation as they walked. "This forest is utterly outrageous," one said. "Not a single bird or beast to be found. I don't care what it is, I'd just like to shoot something, and soon." "Imagine firing a few rounds into a deer's yellow flank," the other replied. "That'd be thrilling, wouldn't it? Watching it spin around and then collapse with a thud." They had ventured far into the mountains, so far that even the experienced hunter who had guided them had grown disoriented and vanished into the woods. The wilderness was so forbidding that the two massive dogs, resembling polar bears, began to suffer dizziness. After barking weakly for a time, they foamed at the mouth and died on the spot. "That's a loss of 2,400 yen for me," one gentleman remarked, gently lifting the eyelid of one of the fallen dogs. "And 2,800 yen for me," the other said, his voice heavy with frustration as he hung his head. The first gentleman, his face pale, studied his companion intently before speaking. "I think it's time for me to head back." "Yes, I feel the same. It's getting cold, and I'm starving." "Let's call it quits, then. On the way back, we can just buy a mountain bird at yesterday's inn for 10 yen. They had rabbits there too. In the end, it's all the same. Let's head back." However, the real trouble was that they had entirely lost their sense of direction. The wind began to howl, rustling the grass with a loud swish, making the leaves crackle and the trees creak and groan. "I'm so hungry. My side has been aching for a while now, and I can't stand it," one gentleman complained. "Me too. I really don't feel like walking anymore," the other replied. "Neither do I. What a predicament. I wish we had something to eat." "Anything would do at this point," the first added. The two gentlemen muttered to each other, standing amidst the rustling stalks of tall grass. Just then, they turned around and spotted a stately Western-style house. At its entrance hung a sign that read, "Restaurant Wildcat House." "Look at that. Perfect timing. This place looks rather refined." "Let's go in," said one. "How curious to find a place like this here, but at least we should be able to get some food, right?" "Of course we can. The sign says so, doesn't it?" "Let's go in. I'm so hungry I feel like I'm about to collapse," the other said eagerly. The two gentlemen stood at the grand entrance. The doorway was constructed from white glazed bricks, giving it an impressively refined appearance. A glass door stood before them, inscribed in golden letters. "Please, everyone, do come in. No need to hesitate." "Delighted," the two exclaimed. "Well, how about that? The world is truly well made, isn't it? We've had a rough day, but now we've stumbled upon such a stroke of good fortune. This place must be a restaurant that offers meals for free." "It certainly seems so. No need to hesitate must mean just that," the other agreed. Pushing open the door, they stepped inside and found themselves in a hallway. On the reverse side of the glass door, another message gleamed in gold letters. "We especially welcome those who are plump or young." Seeing this, the two gentlemen grew even more excited. "Look at that. We're exactly the kind of guests they're thrilled to have." "That's right. We check both boxes." As the two gentlemen continued down the hallway, they came upon a sky blue painted door. "This house is strange. Why are there so many doors?" one remarked. "It's the Russian style," the other explained. "In cold regions or deep in the mountains, houses are often built like this." When they moved to open the door, they noticed yellow letters above it that read, "This establishment is a restaurant with many special requests. We ask for your understanding." "This place must be quite popular, even way out here in the mountains," one said. "Exactly. Even in Tokyo, you wouldn't find many high-end restaurants along the main streets," the other replied. They opened the door, only to find another message written on its reverse side. "There may be quite a lot of requests, but we kindly ask for your patience." "What on earth does this mean?" one gentleman asked, frowning. "Well, it likely means that their many requests make preparation take a bit longer, so they're asking for forgiveness," the other suggested. "That must be it. I just wish we could get to a proper room soon." "And sit down at a table," the first added, their hunger growing ever more intense. But things grew even more peculiar as they encountered yet another door. Beside it hung a mirror, and beneath the mirror lay a long-handled brush. The door bore a message in red letters. "Dear guests, please tidy your hair here and remove the mud from your shoes." "Well, this makes sense," one gentleman said. "Back at the entrance, I thought it was just a mountain lodge and didn't bother with appearances." "It's a house with strict etiquette. Important people must visit here often," the other agreed. So the two neatly combed their hair and brushed the mud from their shoes. But then something odd happened. As soon as they placed the brush back on the board, it seemed to blur and vanish into thin air. A gust of wind whooshed through the room. Startled, the two huddled together and hurriedly opened the door, stepping into the next room. Both felt that if they didn't find something warm to eat soon to regain their strength, they would be in serious trouble. On the inner side of the door, yet another strange instruction was written. Please place your rifles and ammunition here. Looking to their side, they saw a black pedestal clearly intended for their gear. Well, it's true. There's no proper way to eat while carrying a rifle, one gentleman remarked. Indeed. Clearly, very important people frequent this place, the other agreed. The two removed their rifles, unbuckled their leather straps, and placed them on the black pedestal. Another black door stood before them, with the words, "Please remove your hats, coats, and shoes." What do you think? Should we do it? We have no choice. This place must host exceptionally distinguished guests in the back rooms. They hung their hats and overcoats on hooks, removed their shoes, and walked barefoot into the next room. On the reverse side of this door, another notice awaited them. Please leave your tie pins, cufflinks, glasses, wallets, and any metallic objects here, especially sharp items. Beside the door stood an elegant black safe, its door wide open and even equipped with a key. Ah, I see, said one. They must use electricity for some aspect of the cooking. Metal objects would be dangerous, especially sharp ones. That must be it, and perhaps we settle the bill here on our way out, the other added. That seems likely. Yes, I'm sure of it. The two gentlemen removed their glasses and cufflinks, placed everything into the safe, and clicked it shut. After walking a bit further, they encountered yet another door, in front of which stood a glass jar. The door bore the following instructions. Please thoroughly apply the cream in the jar to your face, hands and feet. Looking inside, they found the jar indeed contained a milk-based cream. What's the point of putting on cream? One asked, puzzled. Well, it's likely because it's freezing outside. If the room ahead is too warm, it might cause our skin to crack. This is probably a precaution. I'm telling you, there must be someone truly important waiting deeper inside. Who knows? We might even end up mingling with nobility, the other replied. So, the two slathered the cream onto their faces, hands, and, after removing their socks, their feet as well. Even then, there was some cream left. Pretending to apply it to their faces, they each discreetly tasted a bit. In a rush, they opened the door, only to find another message on its reverse. Did you apply the cream thoroughly? Did you remember to apply it to your ears? Next to the message sat a smaller jar of cream, ready for any overlooked spots. Ah, that's right. I forgot to put cream on my ears. That was close. I might have ended up with cracked ears. The owner of this place is remarkably thorough, said one gentleman. Yes, he pays attention to every little detail. But, honestly, I'm starving. At this rate, we'll never stop walking down hallways, the other complained. Just then, they saw another door ahead with a message. Your meal will be ready shortly. It will not take more than 15 minutes. You'll be eating soon. In the meantime, please sprinkle the perfume in the bottle onto your head generously. In front of the door stood a dazzling golden perfume bottle. The two men took the bottle and splashed the perfume over their heads. However, the perfume had a peculiar smell, much like vinegar. This perfume smells oddly like vinegar. What's going on? One of them remarked. Must be a mistake. Perhaps the maid caught a cold and accidentally mixed it up, the other suggested. Shrugging it off, they opened the door and stepped inside. On the back of the door they had just passed through, large letters read. We're sorry for the many requests, it must have been bothersome. This is the final one. Please thoroughly rub the salt from the jar all over your body. Indeed, a fine blue porcelain jar filled with salt stood before them. But this time, both men were struck with horror. They stared at each other's cream-covered faces in disbelief. Something's definitely wrong, one of them said. I think so too, the other replied. All these requests, they're not for us to make. They're orders for us, one said, his voice trembling. Exactly. This so-called Western restaurant, what I now realize is, it doesn't serve Western dishes to its guests. It turns its guests into Western dishes to be served and eaten. That means, we're. Both began to tremble violently, unable to finish their sentences. We're, one stammered, before letting out a scream. Desperate, one of the gentlemen tried to push open the door they had just come through, but it wouldn't budge an inch. In front of them was another door, this one bearing two large keyholes shaped like a silver fork and knife. Above the door, it read, Ah, thank you for all your effort. You've been prepared splendidly. Now, please step inside. Through the keyholes, two blue eyes gleamed and darted about, peering at the terrified men. Ah! The two men trembled violently. Ah! They burst into tears. From behind the door, hushed voices could be heard. They figured it out. Looks like they won't rub in the salt. Of course not. The boss messed up with the wording, writing something foolish like, "Sorry for all the requests, it must have been bothersome, was a mistake." It doesn't matter. It's not like we'll get even a bone out of it either way. That's true. But if those guys don't come in here, it's going to be on us. Shall we call them? Let's call them. Hey, dear guests, please come in. Come in. Come in. The plates are sparkling clean, and we've already massaged the greens with salt. All that's left is to arrange you and the greens beautifully on the pure white plates. Please come in quickly. Yes, come in. Come in. Or do you dislike salads? In that case, we'll start the fire and fry you up instead. Whatever you prefer, just hurry and come in. The two men were so stricken with fear and despair that their faces became crumpled like pieces of wadded-up paper. They looked at each other's distorted faces, trembling and crying silently. From inside the room, laughter could be heard, followed by more shouting. Come in. Come in. Don't cry so much, you'll ruin the cream you've so carefully applied. Ah, just a moment, we'll bring everything out shortly. Now, please, come in quickly. Yes, come in. The master has already draped a napkin around his neck, knife in hand, licking his lips as he eagerly awaits you. The two men could only weep and weep, their tears flowing endlessly. Just then, from behind them, came a sudden and startling sound. Woof, woof, grrr. It was the two massive dogs, the ones resembling polar bears. They crashed through the door and leapt into the room. The blue eyes peering through the keyholes vanished in an instant. The dogs growled and circled the room for a moment, their movements quick and tense. Then, with a resounding woof, one of them barked loudly and pounced at the next door. The door burst open with a loud bang, and the dogs shot through it as if sucked into the next room. Beyond the door, in the pitch-black darkness, came unsettling sounds. Meow, hiss, purr, followed by rustling noises. Suddenly, the room around them dissolved like smoke. The two gentlemen found themselves standing in the cold, shivering amid tall grass. Scattered around them were their belongings, jackets, shoes, wallets, and tie pins, dangling from branches or strewn at the bases of trees. The wind roared, making the grass rustle, leaves crackle, and trees groan. The dogs returned, growling softly as they approached. From behind them, a voice called out, "Masters! Masters!" Revived with a surge of hope, the two shouted back, "Here! Over here, quickly!" Soon, their guide, the hunter in the straw hat, emerged from the grass, parting it as he approached. At last, the two gentlemen felt a sense of relief. They ate the dumplings the hunter had brought, and on the way back, they purchased a mountain bird for 10 yen before returning to Tokyo. However, their faces, once crumpled like wads of paper from their ordeal, remained permanently altered. Even after soaking in hot baths, they never returned to their original appearance.
Until we meet again, may the stories of Japan inspire your days. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales.